Yo, what's up, guys? So today we're gonna be doing my top 10 blue spells in EDH. Trying to get these top tens done for the colors. And then I'll have some different top tens after this. But blue is probably one of my least favorite colors. Not for any particular reason. I just feel like it kind of does too much as a color. Um, versus like most other colors have like some kind of restriction to it. A little less nowadays, but starting out with Magic Blue, very oppressive, kind of not fun to play against, but I do have some favorites. So I have compiled my top 10 plus a little funny one. But we're gonna get right into it. But before we do that, I'd like to ask you guys to go down there and hit that red subscribe button. We're trying to hit 1,000 subs before the end of the year. We're getting not pretty close, but we're doing better each video. I feel like the channel's growing and expanding as I release videos. Things have been a little hectic. Um, plus, kind of brain rot going on, not having too many ideas for videos these days. Things have been kind of slowing down a little bit, but I'm trying to get back into the groove of things. So yeah. But without further ado, guys, let's get right into it. All right, guys, at our number 10 slot, we have Gitaxian Probe. Gitaxian Probe is a um, technically one mana or sorcery, but you can pay with a Phyrexian blue pip, which means you can pay 2 life instead of paying 1 blue. Look at target opponent's hand, draw a card. I think this card is very good. Gives you hand knowledge on an opponent that you might be wary of. It's essentially free, like an EDH 2 life is nothing. And it replaces itself because you get that draw effect. So I think this card is like pretty pretty good in blue. Pretty good in anything that you can throw it in. Honestly, if you have blue in your color scheme, being able to look at your opponent's hand is like paramount. Like it is a amazing like ability to be able to do that and get the knowledge on what's in their hand, be able to play around their uh like their resources. So that's my number 10. I think it's very good. But we're gonna move on to our number 9 slot. All right, guys, at number 9, we have Urza, Lord High Artificer. You might be asking, why is he uh so low on the list? Well, I will tell you. Urza is a very strong card. He's probably one of the most built blue commanders these days. The issue there is that you run Urza as your commander, you're most likely the archenemy. People do not like Urza. He is very strong. Not fun to play against. Take it for somebody who used to have an Urza deck. As you can see on the channel, I have an Urza Lord High Artificer deck profile. I actually broke down Urza, turned it into a different deck recently. So, but we'll get on to talking about Urza. Urza is a 4 mana human artificer, 2 colorless, 2 blue, 1/4 that says when he enters the battlefield, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token. With this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. He says tap an untapped artifact you control, add blue mana, turns all your artifacts into islands, and then tap 5 and shuffle your library, then exile the top card until the end of turn. You may play it without paying its mana cost. So for 5 mana, you can play whatever you want off the top of your library after you shuffle. I don't know if you can get around it with senseis by activating his ability and then in response paying to manipulate the top afterwards, but that would be kind of cool. I don't know how it works. I didn't have a Sensei's Divining Top when I built this deck initially. Put it in later on just because Sensei is just a good card. Um, I think that he's mainly an auto include in most blue decks. If you're running any type of big spells or any artifacts, which most players are playing quite a bit of artifacts as well as instants and sorceries, I think that he is an auto include, but that's beside the point. Urza is a very strong artifact commander, so you're going to see him played no matter what. But I do think that you should be wary about building him, especially if you're new to Magic. So that's my number 9 slot. So we're going to move on to number. All right, guys. At number 8, we have Mana Drain. Mana Drain is the only counter spell that will the only counter spell that will be on the list. If we included counter spells throughout the list, it'd be nothing but counter spells. There's so many good counter spells in blue, and that's kind of their forte. So this will be the only technical um, counter spell in what it does. It is a 2 mana instant that says counter target spell at the beginning of your next main phase at an amount of colorless mana equal to that spell's value. Extremely strong counter spell. For 2 mana, you're basically, going plus on a bunch of mana. Gives you something to do on your next turn. Say you're on turn 4 or whatever. Somebody casts a 5 mana spell with their mana rock or whatever. Or even 6 if they had a soul ring. You counter that, you're getting 6 mana on your next turn. You're on turn 4, you can cast 10 mana worth of items. Very strong card. It's probably one of the best counter spells in the deck or in EDH besides Pact of Negation. I think that's the one that costs nothing, and then you pay the upkeep cost at the end or at the beginning of your next turn. Um, it's relatively expensive though. It's like a $50 counter spell, so I feel like you could easily just put a normal counter spell in the deck. Counter spell is not that expensive, so it's not mandatory, but it is very powerful. And that is my number 8 spot. All right, guys, for number 7, you saw this coming, is Cyclonic Rift. Cyclonic Rift is an amazing card. For 2 mana, is an instant says return target non-land permanent to you don't control to its owner's hand. You can overload it for 7. 6 colors and a blue, and it says replace target with each, which means that you basically board wipe all 3 players in a pod. We'll go off of the idea that you're playing in a pod of 4. You basically have free reign after that. It's a very strong card. Great at finishing games out. Only issue is most people play the game or play the card incorrectly. They don't use it as a finisher. They use it as a generic board wipe, which is just it's not fun. I actually took out all the Cyclonic Rifts I had in decks that ran blue. I don't find it as a fun card. I actually run less board wipes nowadays than anything, unless it's like a utility board wipe, like some of the ones that are included in the new Night deck. I think board wiping prolongs the game, makes it a little. It drags games out, and I'd prefer to play more than one game at a sesh with with the boys. Don't want to play 1 4-hour game. I do think it is a little too generic these days as well. Like this is like a mandatory include in anything that runs blue. Um, it's good. Like, don't get me wrong, it's an amazing card, but I just can't bring myself to play this card anymore. And that's why it's number 7, why it's so low, considering how powerful it is. This is my top 10 list, not a top 10 list of the strongest. It is my top 10 list. So we're gonna move on to number 6 now. All right, guys. So my number 6 is Pongify. Pongify is a 1 mana instance that says destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. Its controller creates a 3/3 green ape creature token. Great removal. 1 mana is amazing for a removal spell. This is blue's Sword to Plowshares essentially. You are replacing it with a 3/3, but 3/3 ape that doesn't have abilities. Like you're using this on something that's either bigger and way stronger, or something that has an ability that you do not want resolving whatsoever. Amazing card. This is a bit of a quicker one, but I think this is like a mandatory blue instant to include in your deck. Great removal. Kind of different than a counter spell, but I think it is very good. So that is my number 6. We're moving on to number 5, guys. All right, guys. So for number 5, we have Rhystic Study. Great enchantment, 3 mana, 2 colorless, and a blue. Says whenever an opponent casts a spell, you draw a card, unless they pay 1 mana. Big meme around this card, the pay the 1. There's so many cards that kind of emulate it. Cards like Smothering Tithe, Mystic Remora, stuff like that. It's a great card. Amazing card draw. Cheap mana wise, it's only like 3 mana for enchantment, given Smothering Tithe is very similar, except for it's 2 mana or 4 mana. So good card, amazing card, but expensive. It's like $40 right now. It is not a cheap card in the slice, even though it's been reprinted like 4 times in the last, like, or no, like 3 times in the last, like, 2 years. It was in the Arcane, um, Secret Lair. There was a set before that, I believe, and then it was reprinted in a Jumpstart, I believe. I actually got my copy from a Jumpstart besides the Arcane copy because Arcane was. But another issue with it is you become a target. Like, people want this card removed. It's a expensive card, being $40 and you're gonna play it and people are gonna immediately target you or immediately try to remove it. Like, I mean, I guess it serves its purpose. It gets removal spells out of your opponents, but nowadays people are running like 10 plus targeted removal spells in their decks. Like, the way Magic is played nowadays is much different than it was played years ago. And this is a card. This is a relic of the past. It's an amazing card, but people don't like seeing it on the board. That's my number 5. We're gonna move on to number 4. All right, guys. Number 4 is a personal favorite of mine. It is Phyrexian Metamorph. Phyrexian Metamorph is a artifact creature shapeshifter for 3 colorless and a blue Phyrexian Pip. Blue Phyrexian Pips can be played with either 1 blue or 2 colorless. Says you may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of an artifact or creature on the battlefield, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Great card. 4 mana or 3 mana, 2 life for a great utility card. Being able to come in as a copy of an artifact or a creature is amazing. Um, I have this card in my It was in my Urza Lord High Artificer blue artifact deck. Now it is in the new version of the deck, which little sneak peek because I will be showing this deck off at some point. It is now a Brutaclad, which is blue red token deck. Is a artifact token spammy deck. Very fun. But this card is amazing in the deck. It's amazing in most blue decks. Any deck that runs blue, this is a great card. Being able to take somebody's uh utility artifact, like be able to use it on your side of the field as well, or being able to copy their big boy creature, commander, whatever. Amazing. Um, but that's my number 4 slot. I think it's a really good number 4, but we're gonna move on to the top 3 guys. All right, and at number 3 we have Sakashima of a Thousand Faces, another copy spell. Um, he's really good. The fact you can run him as a commander is amazing. He has potential for great partner mechanics. Pair him in white. You can run flicker effects on him, which means that you can just pop him back onto the field to pick a different creature to copy. He gets around the Legends rule, which is amazing. So you can copy commanders. You can have him come in as a copy of your other commander if you're running him as a partner. He's also really good in the 99. I think that if you're playing blue, he is a mandatory include. He's just his utility is just very good. Um, Not much to say about him. He's a good card. Doesn't have too many downsides, so probably go over what he is. He is a 3/1 human rogue for 3 and a blue, by the way. But yeah, amazing card. Highly recommend throwing it in your decks, playing around with them. Maybe even looking up a commander deck profile of a partner version of him could be fun. But that is my number 3, guys. We will move on to number. At number 2, we have not a very old card, but it's gotten a couple reprints, so it's very cheap now. Is Kindred Discovery. Kindred Discovery is a 5 mana enchantment, 3 colorless, 2 blue. Um, that says as it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. It's great card draw. Um, Great in 5-color themed creature decks. This card was. I don't think it was originally printed in 2017. It might have been. I'm not entirely sure, but I know that it was in the 5-color dragon precon. That's where I got my copy. I still have that copy as well. But it's great in any creature themed deck that can get you can run blue. So like zombies, um, sphinxes, stuff like that. Pair this with like consecrated sphinx, dude. Oh my god. It's a good advantage engine, and it's relatively cheap now due to the reprints, as I said. It's $10 now. I think at one point this card was like something dollars before it got its reprint in the D&D set. I believe it was one of the D&Ds. But amazing card. It's my number 2. We're going to move on to the number 1. All right, guys. So our number 1, which, as you can tell, this is a joke. I think the card is funny as hell, is Shark Typhoon. Shark Typhoon is a 6 mana enchantment, 5 colorless, 1 blue. Says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying, where X is that spell's converted mana cost and has X1 X1 in a blue cycling. This card, draw a card. And it says when you cycle Shark Typhoon, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying, where X is equal to the X that you spent. This is a joke. It's not actually the number 1. I just thought it was funny. Shark Typhoon or Sharknado jokes are hilarious, as we all know, but it's not number 1. It is a good card though. I do recommend playing around with this card. It came out in Ikoria, but it is very fun. But we're gonna move on to our actual number. All right, guys. So the true number 1 slot is Venser, Shaper, Savant. He is a 4 mana 2/2 legendary creature, human wizard with flash. Says when he enters the battlefield, return target spell or permanent to its owner's hand. He's a great reactionary creature. Um, Bouncing on a flashable creature is just insane, especially if you're lacking the bodies in your deck after filling out your blue deck with um, instants and sorceries and stuff like that. Uh, Basically a counter on a creature. Amazing card. Good utility value for 4 mana is nothing to scoff at either. I don't really have too. 4 mana is a little expensive for a flash creature having to leave up 4, but if you're playing blue with artifacts and stuff like that, this is just like basically free on your opponent's turns. Because you're basically passing with mana up no matter what if you're playing like mono blue. So I think it's a great card. It's my number 1 for a reason. This could easily have gone another way, though. I was looking at a couple other mono blue cards for my number 1, but Venser is just such a strong contender for like a creature spot in a deck that does like you've got enough counters and enough sorceries, but he's so tempting to like with that ability to bounce. Like it's not as potent as a counter because counter puts the card in the graveyard, but puts it back in their hand is like very cool because it kind of avoids being targeted by that person afterwards because you're not getting rid of their creature or their big artifact or whatever to the point that they can't use it. You're just saying no, not right now, which is good politicking in itself. So Venser's number 1, and we're gonna go into my closing thoughts. All right, guys. So that was my top 10 blue spells. I know videos have been kind of spaced out as of late on the channel. I've been kind of struggling to come up with ideas, and like I said in the last top 10, these videos are like kind of not strenuous, but time consuming to make. Um, but also I kind of need to put stuff out on the channel. It's been like 10 days since I put out something on the channel. Or as of recording this, it'll be longer because today I'm recording it on Friday. It's going up Monday. So I think it's going to be like probably like 12 days, 12 or 13, something like that. Oh, I don't know how many days it is. It's too long. It's basically nothing came out this week. Stuff came out the week before. I just did not have the motivation to put out a video. Trying to work through that. The next video or next top 10 will be white because I told you guys that we were doing black last. That only leaves white left. And then we're going to, I might put a poll out on the community discussion area asking what next top 10s you guys might want to see, whether that be like legendary creatures, that like commanders, multicolored cards, decks that I've played or decks that I would like to play, stuff like that. But that's all I got for you guys. Don't forget to go down there and hit that subscribe button. Shows your support. I would love to see you guys' comments on this, what your top 10 looks like, if you agree with some of my picks, if you think something should be higher or lower, if you'd put something in there in the other spots entirely, let me know. But I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.